I got my man Playboy in the house right now, SYLL. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, sir.
What's up, dude?
You know what I mean? And just real quick for the audience, let them know a little bit about SYLL, and then let them know about Playboy.
Yeah, man, SYLL is, that's my crew that I run with. I'm the only actual artist, but we more like a family.
Right.
I don't really like to call it a movement. I like to call it a way of life. Right. It's just about, living life to the fullest, pretty much, like no matter how old you are. So that's what we about. Whether that's sports, music, film, radio, like whatever you do. So I encourage everybody to be super young and living life.
Awesome. Now let me know a little bit about Playboy and how that came about.
Really, I'm just a young dude from the south side of Chicago, just out here trying to express myself through music, and inspire minds. I've been doing this since I was like 13, 14 years old.
Okay, so this is not nothing new.
Nah, it ain't new. So, even if I was to make it today, I couldn't call it overnight success.
Oh, yeah. No, not at all. Now, a little bit apart about your music. Okay, now you have a very unique style. You actually talk about what you really go through on a day-to-day lifestyle. I mean, we're not talking about, I'm out there making it rain at the club, or, I'm pushing this Bentley. You even had a line in your song, something about a Honda Civic.
Right. Yeah.
You're talking about, basically, this is what I'm going through and making it into an art. So, I mean, what drives you to say, you know what, I'm going to do something different?
I mean, honestly, like, back in the day, you was forced to be a gangster. Like, you was forced to be hard.
And you're not. no, I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying you're not. As in general, like, I'm saying. Yeah, so, because there's a lot of artists out there, I know, they claim to be gangster, and they're not.
Exactly, right. And I ain't no punk for the record, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I said, back in the day, you was almost forced to be like that. But, these young dudes out here, like, Drake and J. Cole, guys like that, like, they kept it honest and made a lot of people, like, including myself, included, that it was all right to be yourself, you know what I mean? Because hip-hop is a fairly new, genre of music. It's only been like 40 years that has been going, so we still growing, and then we got different sub-genres of hip-hop. So I just like to keep it real, because one day, somebody gonna actually come and pull your card.
Yeah, exactly.
And we in the world star age, and it happens to a lot of people these days. So.
You know what, and you brought up a good point. With the digital age, where do you see, as far as like where hip-hop was 10 years ago, if someone going independent, to what they have to do now? I mean, what is the major difference that you have to go ahead and, I guess, overcome those obstacles, especially with the digital age? Yeah,
that goes back to our last conversation. Like, I feel like back in the day, you almost had to like keep up this facade, facade to keep, to actually put yourself on. But now it's like the fans or your followers, people actually want it. They want it right now. That's the thing about the digital age. They want it like right now. They want to be able to go and actually YouTube that video or be able to look online for interviews. Because back in the day, you remember we used to wait all day for our favorite video to come on.
Yes.
And now we don't have to do that. Like the way technology in the industry is moving, like people want it right now.
Back then, you had to mixtapes, an actual mixtape, people. That's when you put your little cassette in the little radio with the song on. You hit the push record. Now you have the digital age. Now, with the digital age, you even mentioned World Star. It's actually a platform to where they're calling artists out. Where you claim one thing, but they'll record it and they'll put it on the internet age. Now, for you, how do you keep this? How do you keep this whole persona of I'm just gonna keep it yourself. I'm going to keep it yourself regardless of what's going on in the video and everything. How do you overcome all that? Because that's like the main thing that's like pulling artists down.
I mean, I think when you being yourself, it's not really a job. Because I feel like if you trying to be something you're not, eventually you're going to let that guard down and that's going to be exposed. Like, I ain't going to name no names of artists that you see out there, but we see it happening every year, all the time.
And we know who you are, those artists, so we know who you are. Now, as far as like music-wise, who are your big influences from then into now that you're like, what, I listen to these people and they help me influence my music.
Right. I mean, I would say me myself, like I'm a student of the game.
Okay.
So I grew up and even still to this day listening to a little bit of everybody. I'm just one for listening to people that are successful. Like, I will say my favorite artist is Jay-Z.
Okay.
You gotta look at the way, you know, he actually came from the bottom and what he's doing for the culture right now, even outside of music.
Okay.
You know.
Now, is there anything outside of just hip hop that you say I can listen to? They're like, all right, they kind of influence me, you know, and whether it's old school or new.
Yeah. Honestly, like hip hop is built off a lot of like samples. So a lot of the stuff that you actually hear today is, you know, the old school, you know, the soul and stuff that, you know, our parents grew up on. So
Right.
honestly, I think everything in life and all other genres influence hip hop at this point.
Yeah, I know what influenced myself in music is, you know, when you put that old school on, you know, I grew up where on Saturday mornings, you know, you clean the house. My mom got the Isley Brothers on, Earth, Wind and Fire on. I mean, did it the same way for you? Or?
Yeah, it was the same way. And then, you know, you wake up on Sunday morning, your grandma, she got that gospel playing through the house.
The whole day. The whole day. Then you got the good food cooking and everything else. Now, Chicago has a very large scene, and that's where you're from, right? You're from Southside Chicago. Now, were there any local acts in Chicago that you may say, you know what, I got you on this. I like this one. You know,
you know, it's one dude in particular that, you know, really like influenced me or made me see that you could really start from the street level and just move up. He never got to blossom on that mainstream level, but his name is actually Bump J.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of him or not, but
Bump J?
Yeah, he actually, you know, incarcerated right now.
Okay.
But he was co-signed by Kanye West. But, you know, he was heavy in the streets of Chicago, you know, just started up a huge movement, you know, just got people involved and, like, you know, became bigger than the city, basically. Okay. You know, and he had a deal through Atlantic and everything. It just didn't pan out. He actually had the biggest deal, like, since 50 Cent. He had, like, a $999,000 deal. But, like I said, he was just so connected in the streets, you know, that's what kind of got him caught up. But, like, you know, if you ask anybody from Chicago, they'll tell you, like, Bump J is large, even still to this day, you know what I mean? Right. But the way he did it was independent, like you see a lot of cats start from the bottom now, like he was doing that back then, you know, straight out the trunk. Just, yeah. And
you bring up a great point with the independence. So you have a lot of artists now, like, you know, your Chief Keef, he went up independent.
Right.
I mean, Rap Macklemore.
Right.
You know, it was Nipsey Hussle. They all hit the independent scene. So are you more inclined to stay independent, or would you rather more of a record deal?
That's a good question. Honestly, like the way the game is right now with the 360 deals, you would rather stay, you know, independent. But however, you know, if you create a large enough buzz for yourself, usually you can kind of dictate some of the things in your contract. Like, you know, where if I was to just get a deal right now with me being not, you know, all the way large like that, there's probably some things that I wouldn't like about it. But if you get your buzz big enough, you know, you start a bidding war, there's certain things that you could dictate.
You kind of demand what you want. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, one of the dudes that really did that was Drake. You know, his buzz was so large at that time, like I think it was like, what, 2009?
Yeah.
That he was actually able to
He had mixtape songs after blah, 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 blah,
exactly.
blah.
So he was able to create a big enough buzz for himself where he didn't really have to, you know, fall into that 360 type deal, you know, where he's able to actually make some money from music.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that is because back then you were hungry to get a record label. Because of the digital age, you can market yourself.
Exactly.
You know, you don't really need the record label to come in. You can make your own stance, like you said, with Nipsey Hussle. Exactly. And then from you coming from Chicago all the way down to Arizona, Phoenix, you have a different tone and a different vibe to what's actually out. Because this is mainly West Coast. You have more of a Midwest vibe.
Right.
You know, but then you have a Midwest vibe with a little dash of a little West Coast and a little bit of here, a little bit there, a little bit of Southern.
That's what the Midwest is. You know, we listen to a wide variety of music. Like it's very Southern influence and very East Coast influence. You know, a lot of West Coast music doesn't get like the light that it really deserves in the Midwest, but I think that's kind of changing with a lot of the acts that you got out right now.
It's the same thing in the South too. You know, they don't get that, but I think with you coming out here, it makes a bigger impact. And one of my favorite songs is "Real Reason." Now, what was the motivation, or what made you say, you know, I'm gonna make a song like this? I mean, Real Reason's a really good hit.
Yeah, the last single I did, Real Reason, with 21, the producer, you know, shout out to him.
Right.
You know, me and him had a session. He was just going through these beats, and that was like one of the beats that I selected. And you know, oftentimes, like, I know most artists could agree with me, like the beat kind of talks to you, and it makes you feel a certain way.
Right.
And honestly, I just went from there. Honestly, that song I finished like in a day, like same session. It was just flowing because it was so real.
Right.
It was so honest that it just flowed. Like I didn't really have to think about it because it was just like flowing out.
Now, speaking of that, what is your process as far as creating a song, hitting the studio, and getting it done? I mean, everyone has a certain process.
Right. Yeah, honestly, me, like, obviously, you know, of course, most of the time, 9 out of 10, I start out with the beat. And I write to the beat line by line. Like, I might think of 2 lines, lay it down, sit there, listen to it 50 times, think of something else that'll sound good to go after that, lay that down, and keep going until I actually got it finished. I actually got that from Lil Wayne, from the Carter documentary.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. And now, are you a writer? Because like Lil Wayne, he claims that he goes in the studio, he just spits, he doesn't write. Now, are you more of a writer, or are you more of a...
Right. I mean, I'm a little bit of both. I'm not even gonna front. Like, I'm not gonna be like, yo, I don't write no lyrics. Don't. You know how a lot of guys do.
Yeah,
like, no
exactly.
disrespect to nobody that can actually do that.
Exactly.
But honestly, I'm more of a writer, and I like to, you know, jot stuff down because I've like thought of shit that I haven't written down in my head and then just forgot all about it. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't want to have that happen where I'm just forgetting lines that I actually thought of when I was out and about.
Exactly. Now, you have something big coming up on March 8th.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit what's going on March 8th.
Yeah. On March 8th, you know, I got a show at the Big Fish Pub in Tempe, Arizona. Then we got an after party at Seven's Lounge in Glendale. And, you know, to all the ladies out there, all drinks is on me and my crew. That's why Double L, so I like to see y'all come out and support.
That's right. It's going down, ladies. It's going down.